Welcome to CN Movies, the show where we review movies, but from a Christian's perspective. I am the filmmaker.
And I am the film watcher.
And you may be wondering, what the heck is a CN Movies video doing up on Wednesday? And you may also be wondering, why isn't it Finding Dory like they promised? Well, we are going to be doing Finding Dory, but it's going to be next Tuesday, the regular day. However, we decided, why not just do the rest of the Harry Potter movies this week? We saw them all. Originally, we weren't even planning to do the actual reviews for them until like June. But by that point, I was like, that's way too far out. So let's just do them now. Let's just knock the rest of them out now. So we're going to do that. Today's Goblet of Fire, and subsequently, we're going to go all the way through Hollows Part 2. And then on Monday, we'll conclude with a discussion about the entire series as a whole. And we are going to be reviewing them all at the same time right now. I know you're going to see them over 16 days, but we're shooting them all at the same time. Because,
why would you say that?
Oh, no. They need to know the truth. We're doing them all right now. And they will be going up this week. We are just so excited to go through this entire series with you.
I'm sure you're excited.
I'm super excited. I'm excited with fire. Set my soul on fire.
First category is story. And in this one, it's kind of different, I think, than most of the Harry Potter movies.
He's mysteriously entered into the grueling Triwizard Tournament, only to find himself... And we can't say the rest of the... Okay, so we're trying to read the back of the box. And it reveals major plot points, so we're going to not say that yet. Just letting you know. So now you can go ahead.
So he's entered into this competition.
Yes.
Which he wasn't supposed to be entered into because he's only 13 and you have to be 16.
Well, he's 14 actually, isn't he?
He's 13.
Are you sure? I think you're right. He's like 13 or 14 years old. And you're supposed to be 16 or 17?
16.
16. So he's like a few years too young to be into this tournament. And this Triwizard Tournament's between 3 different schools.
Yes.
All right.
There's the French school, the Beauxbatons.
Which is all the females?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Then there's the German school, which is the Durstheim.
And it's like all males. There's an all-male school and all-female school, basically.
For whatever.
And they compete with Hogwarts, which is co-ed.
But the thing is, which I thought was cool, was that the schools are there the whole year. So they are taking classes together. You know, they do their dinners and together, which it doesn't.
It's cool, but if you think about it, does this happen the other school years? And
no, this tournament only happens every 10 years or something.
Every 10 years, okay, because otherwise the question comes up: what about prisoner? What about chamber? What about sorcerer?
Yeah, no.
How come? I feel like it should be every 4 years because
I don't remember the number of years.
I feel it's kind of weird because if you have to be 16 to be in it, there's a lot of people getting excluded throughout their school time. That's all I'm saying.
That's why it's such a big deal and why so many people want to enter it. It used to be a younger age. You remember being in the movie, they had just changed it to 16 to help protect the kids. And also, there's more schools than just these 3 schools. So there's other schools. It might happen each year.
It does introduce the fact there are other schools.
It might happen each year.
Oh, but they send their participants to the other schools?
Well, I'm saying that only certain schools participate. You know what I'm saying? Like Hogwarts would only be able to participate every 5 years or whatever the number is.
I thought maybe like a different school is hosting it every year and Hogwarts sent their representatives. Because obviously the whole school didn't go to Hogwarts.
From what I remember.
The whole school didn't go to Hogwarts. It was just part of the school. The other schools.
No, I think it was the whole school.
That was the whole school?
Yeah, they're small schools.
Wow, there's some small schools.
Just
After saying Hogwarts. I mean, there's a lot of girls and guys, though, in the whole world. That's the whole world.
Anyways.
Unless you're confused, that's all there is. Yeah. So, let's go through... Well, there will be spoilers, so we're not going to talk about spoilery stuff yet. We'll hold that to the end of this this discussion, and I'll leave something to let you know you can skip it. So, there's a lot less wasted time in this film, which I find ironic because I know that the Goblet of Fire book is 300 pages longer than any of the previous books. It's like 700 pages at this point. So the fact there's a lot less wasted time in this film, I think, probably stems from the fact they had more main stuff to work with from the book. Because the movie's not shorter than the other movies so far. I mean, it doesn't really say that.
There's a lot that goes on in this book.
It's only 2.5 hours. Yeah. There's probably a lot that happens in the book, and they didn't have to use all the filler like they did in the previous movies, and I think it worked to the movie's benefit. Mm-hmm. They probably chopped out a lot of stuff, and I'm sure people weren't happy about it, but you gotta understand, it's a movie. Unless you want Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2 for every single book, my goodness gracious, could you even imagine 16 movies like that? It's just the way it is. So, I mean, that was my favorite part. The fact there's a lot less wasted time in the film.
And it kind of bugs me that it didn't show up, but at the very beginning, they have the the professional Quidditch Bowl or whatever it is, and it's like professional Quidditch players, and there's this huge
at the
thing.
very beginning of the
and
film.
it builds it up to this like huge game, and you don't see any of the game.
And you don't see any of the game. Come on, guys! Like, how lazy are you? Was that in the book?
I don't remember.
I think you told me that when we were watching it. You're like, yeah, in the book they actually talked about who won.
Well, yeah, they talked about who won.
But like here, that was like this is the visual. This is the Don't show me this World Quidditch Tournament, Olympic style tournament of Quidditch, and then not actually show the match and just talk about it and set it up.
Yeah. I think
You're killing me, Smalls.
Maybe that was going to the next day.
The only reason I can think of that, the only reason I think they did that is because this came out 1 year after Prisoner of Azkaban, and they're on a tight turnaround schedule. So maybe they didn't have the time to CGI that. It's the only thing I can think of, because like, why else wouldn't you show that?
Yeah.
It would have been so cool. I would have been okay with. I don't personally care. I would have been okay with another year in between the two movies to have that match in there. But I also have no say in that fight. It is the best story so far out of the 4 movies.
It's a very interesting story.
I don't think.
like it.
I mean, and that's saying a lot, because I like Prisoner. I think Prisoner's story was a big improvement over the first 2 movies.
Well, in all the other stories, you have like one thing that they have to find or do.
And that's why it feels like there's a lot of wasted time in those films, because nothing else is going on besides that one.
But in this one, he has 3 different challenges that he has to prepare for, accomplish, you know, and go through before the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, they're spread out all throughout the year, but it's still good. They did a good job.
I will say, despite that, the movie just felt okay until the very end. Until like the last 20 minutes of the film. It did feel like just another Harry Potter film, for the most part. I know it did. I mean, it's the best story so far, but that's because of the last 20 minutes. And had it not had that last 20 minutes, had it just ended the way every other movie ends, they solve the mystery or whatever, they find the Goblet of Fire. I mean, I know, I'm just saying, like, that's how movies feel like. They found the Goblet of Fire at the end of the movie. Oh, you know, that could have been just another Harry Potter movie. But it wasn't, because of the last 20 minutes.
So we're going to talk about spoilers?
Well, is there anything else you want to add before we go?
Yeah, because reasons I took off points.
Go ahead and
We're
go
in
reason why you
spoilers.
took off points.
Okay.
Oh, they're in spoilers?
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. Just a fun thing I want to say before we get into this. Alfonso Cuarón, I've looked into him more now. He directed Gravity, which I have seen, and that's a beautifully shot movie. I don't know if it's like I don't really think it's like a fantastic movie. It's a pretty good movie though. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen Gravity? Gravity. He directed that. He's the one who directed Prisoner of Azkaban. He also directed Children of Men, which is a good movie as well. So I have seen a couple of his other stuff. I just didn't know it was him. So I just wanted to point that out, because I think it would have been cool if he had directed this film.
It would have been cool if he directed all of them.
Well, I think he might have got burnt out. That's 8 films, man. I can't imagine anybody directing 8 films.
But he did such a good job.
He did such a good job, and I think it's because he had the time to put the care and love into it. And I wish he had directed this movie. I don't know who directed this movie. This is the only director I don't know. David Yates directs the next 4 films. Chris Columbus directed the first 2, and Alfonso Cuarón directed the last movie, but I don't know who directed this one. But the point being is, I wish he had directed this one. I feel like this being the best story with his direction could have been easily the best movie. But it's more like on par with Prisoner, but we'll get there. So, spoiler alert. We're going to talk about spoilers now. So if you want to miss the spoilers or skip over the spoilers, then click on the big old thing. Or jump until later in the review, but just click on it. All right. So,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Because I like what you don't like? Is that why?
No.
Oh.
Okay, the only reason I took points off was because the biggest plot hole in the whole movie is that the reason the villain, who's really Barty Crouch Jr., entered Harry in the Triwizard Tournament was so that at the end he could get the port key to where Voldemort was. Why didn't he just give him, like, here, Harry, hold a pin and take him to Voldemort? You know what I mean? Like, the whole...
Voldemort's in this movie, by the way. I feel like that's a really big spoiler. That's the reason why we had a spoiler to begin with.
Yeah.
Voldemort finally shows up in this movie,
flesh,
and he fights Harry, and he overpowers Harry. I understand your plot hole. I don't care. All right? I don't, because the whole reason was to have Voldemort at the end of the movie, and you know what? I'm okay with that. I understand his plot hole. I understand it doesn't make sense. I understand it's kind of stupid.
I think it could have been handled a little.
It could have been handled better. You're right. I feel like the better directing would have... I don't know if it was like that. There's a plot hole in the book like that, but in the movie, that final battle with Voldemort. This is...
That's a good scene.
As we get into the next reviews, I just want you to remember this. I like the fact that Voldemort fought Harry and overpowered Harry. And the fact that you were like, the Harriet does not... At 13-year-old Harriet does not have a chance, or 14-year-old Harry does not have a chance against Voldemort. Voldemort is going to kick his butt if they fought right now. Even if Harry was prepared going into this fight, not with the surprise that happened, he would not have beaten Voldemort. Not even close. So that thing is very important as we get into the later movies. That's it shows you it by introducing Voldemort and then subsequently having Voldemort beat Harry Potter.
He didn't beat him.
Okay, Harry Potter escaped.
He escaped.
Okay, no, Voldemort had the advantage on him and did not lose. Harry Potter escaped. He didn't lose. Harry Potter lost, but he got lucky with the escape because there has to be later movies and stuff, you know.
He would have died if he hadn't. Anyways,
if the plot convenience had not happened, of how did Harry Potter escape? We're in spoilers.
Voldemort should have just been able.
How
to
did Harry
just
Potter
kill him.
escape?
Because the wands connected, and his
Yes.
parents and Cedric came out of. Well, it's more explained better in the books.
Mm-hmm.
And then they rushed Voldemort and blocked him, and Harry was able to run his working. But it was also, I mean, they're standing there locked.
Mm-hmm.
Voldemort can't do anything, Harry can't do anything.
Yeah.
It's like an impasse. Nobody won or lost.
The thing is, you clearly tell Voldemort's not a man to be messed with.
Yeah.
And he's strong.
He's strong, he's scary.
He's strong, he's scary, he's everything. His introduction in this film is man, I feel like the first 3 films were a waste of my time. And I like Prisoner, but I almost wish, we'll get to that when we get to the discussion of the series, but Voldemort appearing in the 4th movie seemed like a little bit too late, but at the same time, I liked it. It was good. It was a great introduction to the villain. And it really gives you hope for the future films, like Order of the Phoenix and all of them, that Voldemort, man, whew, this is a villain. This is like Darth Vader level villain, you know? What other villains can I think of to compare him to? I can't, off the top of my head. Greatest villains of all time. Sauron. I don't care for Lord of the Rings, though, so... Oh, and Sauron.
Anyways.
Voldemort, though, fantastic.
Oh, okay, are we done with spoilers, or are you good?
We're not done. Are we done with the story? Is that what you're saying?
Spoilers.
If there was non-spoiler stuff to talk about, we should have talked about that already.
I was
what's
going to
up?
go into the CGI a little bit since we don't have...
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, go ahead and comment on it.
Okay. So, since we don't have a CGI or animation, I just liked, again, in this one, that there are a lot of nice visuals. They did a great job with the dragons, as far as CGI and the dragons. The maze was really cool, I thought.
I just think as the movies get further along, they've made so much money off the series. There's no reason for them not to have good CGI.
Yeah,
it's not like the first movie anymore. The risk is gone. You've made a ton of money at this point. We're in the 4th movie. If you did not have good CGI, that's laziness. They're rushing films at that point. And you're correct. The CGI here is better. It's 2004, or wait, when this movie came out, 2005. Sorry, this movie came out 2005. And yeah, so it's CGI's on par with the good CGI of 2005. It's, today it wouldn't pass off as good CGI. It would be subpar by today's standards, but it's good. It's better. It keeps getting better in every movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Should we done with story?
Sure. My final score for a story is a 12 out of 15.
Mine's 12 too.
Yes. Nice. The next category is characters.
Again, it's showing how they've grown a little bit more each year. There's a little bit more tension between Ron and Harry in this one, which I thought was interesting because Ron thinks that Harry put his own name in and somehow got in, so Ron's jealous.
Into the Goblet of Fire.
The tournament, yeah.
Yeah.
So just little things like that showed they're not just the same characters all the time. They have their moments when they don't like each other or they do like each other or whatever. There is more love interest shown in this one because they are teenagers now. So that's introduced a little bit more.
I actually didn't like that Ron was pretty stupid in this film about Harry. He didn't believe Harry. Yeah. Despite, how do you watch Scooby-Doo? He would know to trust your best friend. But he didn't watch Scooby-Doo. Therefore, he doesn't know.
Well, it wasn't that. It didn't take him long. But still.
Yeah, but he was pretty dumb, and I didn't like that he was like, come on, Ron, get over yourself. You gotta trust Harry Potter, man. Has he ever done you wrong? Snape played a larger role in this movie.
Snape was more important in this one.
Severus
can I finish my
Dumbledore. Sorry.
All I was going to say is it seemed like Harry didn't try very hard in this movie to win his contest. He was always getting hints and helps from other people, which I realize he's only 13 and he doesn't even want to be in this contest.
I think he might have gone into this because you're right. He didn't have. It wasn't like Ron where he wanted. I think he just didn't want to die.
Yes.
So his only motivation was to get through it. He didn't have the motivation to win. He just didn't want to.
I know, but to not die, you have to know what you're gonna do.
No, I agree. I think he might have had a defeatist. I don't know if that's the right wording. Defeatist attitude.
Yeah. I just think
he went into this knowing he he's not gonna win. He shouldn't win.
He shouldn't win.
And the only reason he does win,
it's because he's constantly helped by.
Yes,
people.
he's helped. And
I just think they should have maybe explained that better. So you don't think Harry's just being lazy this whole time.
he's not being lazy. I just think he's 3 years younger than his competition.
Yeah.
And nowadays, I mean, when you're an adult, that's whatever. Like, just because someone's 29 doesn't mean I'm gonna be, defeated by how their age. But back when you're a teenager, that's a big deal. It was 3 years or something.
Yeah, that's true.
So 13 versus 16. I mean, it's like 8th grader versus a junior in high school, something like that. Yeah.
I will say that Moody is like one of my favorite dark arts teachers.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it wasn't even Moody.
Yeah.
I mean,
spoiler.
Reality. Well, we've already talked. That's true. The reality is that Moody was not really Moody, but at the same time, it was Moody.
Yeah.
It was Moody.
He
It was
acted a
Moody,
lot
and it
like
was a
Moody.
plot convenience that it wasn't actually Moody.
Yeah.
It's so dumb because in the later films, it's just the same guy anyway. I don't
Yeah.
know. He was the most interesting dark arts teacher thus far. But back to Snape playing a larger
sorry,
role.
sorry.
All right. So, is this the? We've watched all of them, so at this point, I've seen them all. Is this the movie where Snape smacks them in the back of the head? I think this is the movie where he smacks them in the back
In
of the
their
head.
study hall.
Yeah, and they keep talking.
Yes.
Yes, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, because it's hilarious because there's tons of other people talking around
Yes.
him, and he doesn't care. He just walked right by them. But then when they're talking,
Yep.
he's like,
When Snape when Harry and Ron are
Yeah.
talking, yeah, he's disciplining only them, and it's pretty funny. I already mentioned how Voldemort was awesome, if only for a brief time. So we don't need to talk more about that, but I guess we kind of did say spoilers in the story, and then we kind of.
it's okay.
You know what? Screw it, man. If you're watching this review, how have you not already seen Goblet? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But anyways, yes. So, I do have a fun fact. I looked into why Susan, so we don't have to keep talking about this in every review. Why Susan Bones, the greatest character in this whole franchise, aside from Snape, isn't in any of the later films. Because in the books, she's actually in the later books. I found out. I haven't read the books. I didn't know that. She's up through Order of the Phoenix, and she gets half her leg chopped off. It doesn't matter. It doesn't happen in the movies. I'm not ruining anything. In the books, she gets half her leg chopped off, and that's the last time you hear about her or something. So in the movies, it turns out that Chris Columbus, the director of the first 2 films, that was his daughter playing Susan Bones.
That makes sense.
And she was the only American actress on set. She's the only one. Everyone else is UK British, or whatever you want to call it.
Is Emma Watson British?
Yes. So she's the only one. And so when Chris Columbus got taken off the films and Alfonso Cuarón got taken over to do Prisoner, which is a great choice, by the way, then Susan Bones was written out of the subsequent films. Because I think it's just like how we saw Jenny with Harry Potter's, Ron's sister, but Harry Potter's friend. And, she's shown, but she has no role, really. She will in a later film, but not yet. Same with, what's his name, Neville? I don't even know if he's in this film. You think he is?
Yeah, he gave him the
Yeah.
Lily.
So they have characters that have very minor roles but are bigger in later movies. I think Susan Bones was one of those characters, but she got written out.
No, Susan Bones is barely in the books. I've read all the books.
But she got half her leg chopped off.
So
I
it
feel like that would have
doesn't
been
matter.
interesting to see. Oh, man. Whatever. Anyways, so that's the...
I don't remember Susan Bones at all.
The greatest mystery of all time has been solved.
Glad you solved it.
She was the only American actress on set. She was Chris Columbus's daughter.
Makes sense.
Yep. Now we know.
Okay.
And the more you know. So my final score for characters is a 9 out of 10.
I gave him 8.
An 8 out of 10. Why don't you?
I consistently
You
give
need to
Harry Potter
always
characters
agree
11.
on my score.
No.
I didn't even talk about Harry Potter. And Hermione, you know what? I didn't even mention them once.
Then
They're all the
characters.
same. They're great. They're all the
Yeah.
same.
Why do you have Robert Pattinson?
Oh, before we finish, Robert Pattinson's in this movie? Who the heck knew that one before? This is pre-Twilight. Well, all right, I'm just saying. You watch this before Twilight, and then you see Twilight, you might be like, hey, wasn't he in Harry Potter? But for me, it was like, wasn't he in Twilight? But Twilight came out later, so understandable.
So the next category is music. Again, I think the Harry Potter theme is iconic. It's good. It's done
I did
well.
note, starting to catch on.
Mhm.
You're right.
Well, there's several things. I mean, Voldemort has a theme. A Hedwig has a theme. I don't know if you knew that. But anyways, the one thing that bugged me, which I'd never noticed it till this watching, was that at the very end, they play this like fanfare, which is good because it's not something you hear a lot in the movies. They play a fanfare right before they go into the maze. And then when they come back and Cedric's laying there dead, they play the fanfare again. It's the exact same sound clip. And that bugs me. And I don't know why.
We have no spoilers for this, man. Cedric
letting you
dies.
know.
Who's Cedric?
Okay.
Robert Pattinson.
I always like that.
Woo!
I always
I
like.
should just warn people at the beginning of this review. Don't watch this if you haven't seen Goblet
You
of
want to
Fire.
start over?
No, it's okay. It's fine. I'm just going to
Okay.
put a thing at the very beginning saying if you haven't seen Goblet, hold off and watch this review because, man, you're in for a time of your life otherwise. This whole movie will be ruined if you haven't seen Goblet. It's fine. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. I have always kind of liked the fact when a movie has the more upbeat movie. I can't talk. I'm sorry. I do like the fact that something sad was happening, and yet they still use like what realistic music would have been happening. I forget there's a term for that. It's called. But so realistically,
Dialectic,
even though
non-dialect?
even though something sad is happening,
That's music they hear, music they don't hear.
you hear the music that would have been heard, that would have actually been playing, and that music was happy.
Gotcha.
So it makes it more. It actually makes it sadder because
She killed the Goblet of Fire.
more sad. It makes it more sad because something dramatic is happening, and yet you still have this upbeat light music.
Yeah.
I did like that. I just realized this time that they used the exact same sound clip, and that bothered me. So
Gotcha.
that's all I have to say about the music.
Well, yeah. My only point is the main Harry Potter theme starting to catch on. I don't know if you guys know this. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before, but music usually, unless it's like iconic, like Indiana Jones theme, Back to the Future theme, Pirates of the Caribbean, it's just like some music you just instantly stuck in your head for some hear. But when I saw Frozen for the first time, none of the music stuck in my head. I feel like when we shot Corpse Bride way back in the day, that I failed to mention that because we shot Corpse Bride a few times. If you see that review, you know that. And the first time we did Corpse Bride, I remember mentioning that Frozen didn't stick in my head the first time I saw it, but I don't know if I mentioned that
Yeah.
So I have an issue where the music usually doesn't stick, unless it's just like really catchy or really memorable or something. Then it does. So here, the main Harry Potter theme, while not the most amazing thing ever, I can hear it in my head right now. So it's getting on, it's catching on to me. The rest of the music though just kind of exists and does its job, and that's kind of the theme for these movies for me. So I got nothing else.
So I gave it an 8.
An 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
I gave it a 6 out of 10. I mean, the music's just, I don't know. You give such a higher score than I do every time. The last category is Christian nutritional value. You have friendship. I didn't put a question mark, so it must have been more solid here.
Mm-hmm.
Dealing with a tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
That's, whereas Harry dealt with his parents being dead in the third movie. This is more, I mean, that's real to him, but this is like a tragedy happens in front of him, and he has to deal with that, and that's hard. Yeah, and that becomes a theme in later movies too, where he has to deal with stuff, and but here it's the first time. Here it's like, it's the entrance into, you're no longer a kid. Yeah, he's no longer a kid anymore, and he has to deal with that, and that sucks because he's only like 13. But there's bigger fish to fry than the Goblet of Fire Tri-Wizard Tournament, And then you got Witchcraft and Wizardry and Language. I didn't mention what language, so it's probably the basic language, yeah.
Yeah. I have, as far as positives, it did take a lot of people to help Harry in order for him to win. So his friends were there for him. They were helping him.
But at the same time, he was getting it.
He was.
Sometimes you have to do things for yourself.
Yes.
Yes, and he was getting all this help. He gets by with a little help from his friends, but in reality, he got by with a lot of help from his friends.
Can I finish talking?
I was just quoting the Beatles. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, he also helped Cedric, so he wasn't inactive all the time. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
He did. There was more to it than
just.
Yes.
Cedric and him helped each other.
Yes. There was a relationship.
Even though they're competing, they helped each other.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So that was a good point. I mean, it's kind of vague, or maybe, but I did like the fact that the whole point of the Tri-Wizard Tournament is to kind of bring the wizards together and bring other people together that you wouldn't normally interact with, and to build that relationship.
It's still a competition, though.
Yeah, it's still a competition.
Tri-Wizard Tournament.
By the end of it, when they're all saying goodbye, like everyone's hugging each other.
Yeah.
They became friends during that year.
Yeah, they got to know each other.
Yeah, like
I mean,
all the schools.
How many of them do you think? All right, let's be real, people. How many times do you think they've talked to each other ever since Like, they probably just add each other on Hogwarts book or whatever it's called, and then they probably never talk to her again. They're like, oh yeah, you know, like it's one of those. It's like,
But
it's like going to summer camp.
it is still a part of life to have to learn how to talk to and deal with people who are different than you. I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying. And again, Harry, there's a point in the maze where Cedric is being attacked, I guess is what you're saying, and Harry almost leaves him. He struggles with the whole fact of I could win.
He does. He goes with like, I could win this thing, or I can help Cedric not die from what it looks like he was dying, and you know.
So I like the fact that it showed the struggle. It wasn't.
It wasn't just like instant, like, oh, I have to.
Oh yeah, let's go help Cedric. Yeah, it made it realistic and humanistic, I guess. I know
what you mean. It was realistic. It was like,
realistic. Yeah. What a real human might do or think. So that was good because he did actually go back and help Cedric. I don't know. I thought that there were some good points in this one. But there are more, I think there were more sexual innuendos in this one. Maybe that's because they're getting older.
I don't know. All right, so this is the first movie to be PG-13. So, all right, so for example, let's give you a comparison point. Prisoner, it says, frightening moments, creature violence, and mild language. That's PG. This is PG-13. Sequences of fantasy violence and frightening images. Now, somehow Prisoner has mild language, but here it says no language. Even though I heard the language.
That's because the ratings changed or something. I remember hearing something about this.
Really? Because okay, so all of a sudden the movie is, despite being like 13 minutes longer, 15 minutes longer here it says, and being PG-13, removes mild language and still somehow jumped up a.
I don't remember exactly why. I do remember hearing something about that.
I mean, if it happened between 2004 and 2005, that makes sense, I guess, but. Like, I don't know how this is any more... I mean, the only thing is that the movie's darker at the end. But it doesn't say that on the back. So the rating, it's kind of confusing. Because if I was to read this, I'd be like, it's like almost the same thing. In fact, they removed something. It should be PG still. But, yeah.
I don't know.
So the rating system's not always super dependable.
There was still mild language in this one, though.
Yeah. I mean, I will say I say it's still like a PG movie, but... It's like older... It's older kids. It's not teenager. I mean, I don't know.
It wasn't as obvious to say, like... Scooby-Doo or whatever.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like,
but there were moments.
Yeah, I gotcha. Well, what's your final Christian nutritional value?
8 out of 15.
I gave it a 3 out of 15. Probably a little bit harsh. Probably could have given it a 4 or 5, but I'm gonna stick with my score.
That's okay.
Our final score for the Goblet of Fire is a 66 out of 100. I would say this, along with Prisoner, is a movie I would go back and watch again. If you were to ask me to watch it again, I'd probably want to watch Prisoner first, but I would watch this again. I don't want to watch Chamber of Secrets ever again, but I would watch this again. So I recommend it. I would say 10 and above is about the cutoff. For most, I'd say pretty much. Yeah, 10 and above for these movies. For pretty much anything after Prisoner, 10 and above. So, check it out if you've watched the first 3. After Prisoner, if you're not encouraged to watch the 4th one, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Unless your wife's dragging you through the mud to watch all 8.
So tomorrow...
Literally tomorrow,
tomorrow, we'll be doing Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, which is obviously the 5th one in the series.
Yes, and we move directors now to the director who will do the rest of the films, David Yates. What has he done before Order of the Phoenix? A bunch of TV movies. So I hope you're encouraged. To see what he does with the rest of the Harry Potter series. Stay tuned, subscribe, and bye.